Ryan adopted a cat to solve a productivity problem. He had tried standing desks, timers, and workspace reorganization. His therapist told him he needed something alive in the room. So he went to a Maplewood rescue and came home with Duke, 21 pounds of Maine Coon who had absolutely no interest in Ryan's productivity system and a completely different plan for how this arrangement was going to work. Ryan had a productivity problem. Not with his work. His work was fine. He was a freelance graphic designer, 36 years old, good at what he did, and reasonably disciplined about deadlines. The problem was the hours between projects, the silence that settled into his apartment on slow afternoons like something physical, the way he'd find himself on his phone for 40 minutes without knowing how he'd gotten there. He had tried a standing desk, he had tried a Pomodoro timer, he had tried rearranging his workspace 3 times in 8 months. Then his therapist said something that stayed with him. You need something alive in the room. Ryan thought about it for 2 weeks. Then he went to Maplewood Rescue and came home with a Maine Coon named Duke. The logic was sound. A cat was independent. A cat didn't need walks or schedules or constant engagement. A cat would simply exist in the apartment, a warm, quiet presence, and Ryan could get on with his work. Duke was 21 pounds silver gray tabby, with ears like a lynx and the expression of someone who had heard Ryan's plan and found it moderately amusing. The first problem presented itself on day 2. Ryan was at his desk at 9:15 a.m., coffee beside him, project open, genuinely focused for the first time in weeks. Duke jumped onto the desk, walked directly across the keyboard, and sat down on the trackpad with the deliberate precision of someone who had identified the most important object in the room and claimed it. Ryan moved him to the floor. Duke returned to the desk in 11 seconds. Ryan moved him to the cat bed he had specifically purchased and positioned within view of the desk so Duke would have somewhere comfortable to be while Ryan worked. Duke looked at the cat bed, then at Ryan, then back at the cat bed. Then he returned to the desk and sat on the keyboard again. By 10:30 a.m., Ryan had produced 40 minutes of actual work and relocated Duke 7 times. This was, he would later calculate, a better ratio than the standing desk had ever managed. He decided to consider it progress. The focus problem didn't disappear, it transformed. Duke had no interest in Ryan's productivity system. He had no interest in the Pomodoro timer, the structured work blocks, or the boundary Ryan attempted to establish between work time and cat time. What Duke had interest in was Ryan, specifically Ryan's attention, Ryan's lap, and Ryan's apparent belief that there were activities more important than acknowledging a 21-pound Maine Coon who was sitting directly in front of the monitor making steady eye contact. The eye contact was the thing Ryan hadn't anticipated. Duke would sit across the room and simply look at him, not urgently, not anxiously, just steadily, with the patient certainty of someone who knew the outcome of this situation and was simply waiting for Ryan to catch up. Ryan would look back. Duke would not look away. Ryan would return to his screen. Duke would continue looking. Eventually, and Ryan was never entirely sure how it happened, he would find himself walking to the couch, sitting down, and Duke would be on his lap within 30 seconds, settled and purring as if this had been the plan all along. It probably had been. Still watching but haven't subscribed yet? That honestly stings a little. Hit that button. You'll want to be here for what comes next. The shift happened somewhere around week 5. Ryan had a deadline, a real one. Logo package due by Friday, client already nervous, Ryan 2 days behind because of a revision spiral he hadn't managed to pull himself out of. He was at his desk at 11 p.m. on a Wednesday, tired and frustrated, staring at a version of the design he knew wasn't right, but couldn't figure out how to fix. Duke jumped onto the desk. Ryan started to move him. Then he stopped. He left Duke where he was, sitting beside the monitor, watching Ryan with those steady green eyes, and just sat there for a minute. Not working, not on his phone, just sitting. Something loosened. He looked at the design again, saw what was wrong, fixed it in 20 minutes. He wasn't sure what to make of that. He wrote it off as coincidence and went to bed. It happened again the following week, and the week after that. Whenever Ryan hit a wall, the specific kind of stuck that more effort couldn't solve, Duke would arrive, position himself somewhere in Ryan's line of sight, and the act of stopping to acknowledge him seemed to reset something. Not always, but often enough that Ryan stopped calling it coincidence. He mentioned it to his therapist. She said something about the nervous system and co-regulation and the documented effects of animal presence on cortisol levels. Ryan nodded and didn't fully follow the science, but he understood the practical version. Duke made him stop, and stopping, it turned out, was what he had actually needed all along. Duke is 2.5 years old now. He still occupies the desk during work hours. Ryan stopped relocating him around month 3 and has since reorganized his workspace to include a specific corner of the desk that is, by unspoken agreement, Duke's territory. His trackpad is positioned accordingly. Duke still does the eye contact thing. Ryan still ends up on the couch. He has stopped pretending this isn't going to happen and has started scheduling it. 20 minutes, mid-afternoon, Duke on his lap, no phone, and found that his afternoon focus has improved in a way that none of the productivity systems ever managed. His therapist calls it a breakthrough. Ryan calls it being outsmarted by a cat. The distinction, he has decided, doesn't matter much. He still has the Pomodoro timer. It's in a drawer somewhere. He hasn't needed it since around October. Ryan went to that shelter looking for a quiet presence, something alive in the room, something that would stay out of the way while he got his life organized. Duke had other ideas. Duke had, it turned out, a fairly comprehensive plan, one that involved dismantling every system Ryan had built and replacing it with something considerably simpler. Show up, stop moving, pay attention to what's actually in front of you. Ryan is more productive now than he has been in 3 years. His apartment is quieter in the ways that matter and louder in the ways that don't. And every afternoon at around 2 p.m., a 21-pound Maine Coon walks across his keyboard, sits down in front of his monitor, and waits. Ryan closes the laptop, moves to the couch. Duke follows. 20 minutes later, Ryan goes back to his desk and does his best work of the day. He went looking for focus. What he found was that focus had been looking for him too. It just needed him to stop long enough to let it in. Do you think the right animal finds you at exactly the right time? Or is that just a story we tell ourselves? Tell me in the comments.